Now it's harvest time and there's a lot of yam that's been harvested. Thank you everyone for coming along to see the yams that we've harvested. Most of them mainly done by my friends, my uncles, my brothers all over Nigeria, and I'm happy to show you this yam in bags is actually going to become a favorite, and by this method we'll be able to drive down the price of yams. That's the aim. Let's drive down the price of yams and then drive down the prices of some other food items. This will help us to actually spend less and would have more food in the food barns at the end of the year. You grow yams from January and you start harvesting from October, November, and some in December. So the yams that I'm showing you were grown by Professor G.K. Oshagbemi. He's a professor of medicine, where a lot of us know him. He's grown these yams and he's decided to share with us how he has done it. You can see the yams are being properly staked, because the tendrils need to climb up and be supported. The leaves will be able to obtain sunlight for photosynthesis. This makes the yam grow bigger. It's also make sure it's not resting against the fences, so that the leaves are actually quite free. It would tell us how this has gone on. What has been your experience in growing these yams?
I want to recommend that you can plant your yams inside bags and you are going to get interesting and good outcome. It is very practical. You do not need to have an expansive compound. All you need is the space that can take as many bags as are convenient for you, starting from even 1, 2, 3, or 4 bags with 1 yam per bag that is filled with humus soil. And I recommend everybody to try it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Oshagbemi. You had that, and it's actually going to be interesting and nice if you all decide to grow it as well. Professor Oshagbemi is growing in Ilorin, that's in the Middle Belt. And then we have my uncle Oladoshu Awuyemi, who's one-time Federal Director of Agric, and he has shown us the yams that he grew, and he said he's applied chicken manure, watered it, just the same as Professor Oshagbemi said. So if you're growing yam, you'd have to water when it's not raining. You'd have to also apply some forms of fertilizer. You can use chicken poop and grain manure from weeds, all of them together, along with any other shop-bought fertilizer that you are recommended by the Agric ministries. Just use them and you will get very good, safe yams to eat at the end of the year. It's very interesting. You can see the yams have a lot of leaves. A lot of leaves mean a lot of photosynthesis. I mean, these leaves send the carbohydrates that they have produced down to the roots and it's stored, and that's what we harvest as yam. So when you have a lot of leaves on your yam, that's very good. You're going to come up with very good yams, but you need to make sure the leaves go brown. As we saw in Professor Oshagbemi's garden, the leaves need to go brown before you harvest, so that all the carbohydrates that's been produced from photosynthesis return to the roots, make the yam bulky harvest. My uncle has weighed his yam for us, because when you see it together in a pile, you may assume that the yams are small. You not have an idea. So my uncle has brought them out one by one, and he's told us the weight and length of each one, so that you can actually have an idea of how big. They are close to half a meter each. Then I'm not saying they're half a meter, I said they're close to, I mean 45 centimeters, 48 centimeters, that's about 50 centimeters is half a meter. Those are long yams, and see the weight as well. That's very heavy. That's a very good result at the end of the year. And when you remember how many Professor Oshagbemi was able to show us, you can see how much yam you can produce in just your little space. If you want to produce 4, 6, 8, it's up to you. Just let's try these things. Let's bring down the price of yam. And I have asked my uncle what's advice or message does he have for everybody concerning growing this yam. He says it's very good for us to grow the yams and would get the best results by applying chicken manure and also mulching. That is, make sure you pile a lot of leaves on top. So apply chicken manure, make sure you water it and mulch it. I've also got, my uncle is in Lagos, so you know you can grow these yams in Lagos. Professor G.K. Oshagbemi has grown his yams in Ilorin, which is further away. So you know you can grow these yams in Ilorin as well. And then I come over to Ife. I also went along, and my brother in Ife, brother Okwe, he's grown some yams as well. And he didn't even stake all of them by cutting down stems. He's used tree system where he placed the bags under some trees and he just led the yam up it. This is very perfect because they just go up, they reach the sun, and they're sending the photosynthesis result back to the roots, and the yam starts getting bigger. The leaves are up in the sky and the yams are getting bigger. So at the end of the year, you see the yam sticking out of the soil and it's time to harvest it. This is a very good system and everybody enjoys doing it. All you have to do is water it regularly, twice a week for a few months, then the rains come. And after that, when the rains go again, you water it for a couple more months, and you don't water again. You want it to be dry, the leaves go dry, and you can harvest your big yams. I also went on down and said, in case of people who already have their farms set up, they haven't got any more spaces. And Dr. Olu Akimoyewa at Ileoluji showed me, okay, he has spaces here and it's actually growing okra, but you don't want to grow yams in soil where you're growing okra. It's best to grow it in a bag. So he's showing us spaces in his garden where we can place bags of yam and lead them up sticks and trees. And at the end of the year, he'll be harvesting yams. So all this yam harvest, I think, is encouraging. Please, everybody, try and start a few yams next year. Let's listen to what Professor Oshagbemi has to say about the experience of growing yams in bags.
We want people who want to try it, I want to encourage them, let them try and see the outcome.
Thank you, Professor Oshagbemi. He says it's interesting and fun, and everybody should try it. Things that are actually going to make you to have the biggest yams. You start with a seedling, you put in the soil, and it grows into a bigger yam at the end of the year. If you start with cuttings, you would get a seedling that you can grow in the following year. So I'll show you now the seedlings that I made earlier in the year. I've harvested them, and these are the seedlings. So I will be able to grow this on next year and get a big yam. Because it's no longer those cuttings. You can see that these things have grown. You have these rounded shapes now, and I now have seedling for use in the next year. I don't cover it. I just leave it like this and place it so that it has air flow around it and it doesn't get dry. This is the best that I've produced, and I think it's a very good way forward. Thank you for listening this far. I hope you subscribe to my channel, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again when I'll be showing the results of my growing yams from leaves. They have started growing. So I'll show you, and because I want to show the pros and cons, I'll do it in my next video. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll be able to grow better yams. See you in my next video.